America is a different country than it was 11 hours ago. A landmark ruling from a sharply divided U.S. Supreme Court clearing the way for same-sex marriage in all 50 states.
I finally fell asleep and dreamed I was walking along a village road. Children dressed only in strings of beads played in front of the round huts, and several old men waved to me as I passed. But as I went farther along, I began to notice that people were looking behind me fearfully, rushing into their huts as I passed. I heard the growl of a leopard and started to run into the forest, tripping over roots and stumps and vines, until at last I couldn't run any longer and I fell to my knees in the middle of a bright clearing. Panting for breath, I turned around to see the day turn to night, and a giant figure looming as tall as the trees, wearing only a loincloth and a ghostly mask. The lifeless eyes bored into me, and I heard a thunderous voice saying only that it was time, and my entire body began to shake violently with the sound, as if I were breaking apart. I jerked up with a sweat, hitting my head against the wall lamp that stuck out above the bunk. In the darkness, my heart slowly evened itself, but I couldn't get back to sleep again.
I vowed to keep up the fight against the so-called Defense of Marriage Act. There's a bill to repeal this discriminatory law in Congress, and I want to see that passed. But until we reach that day, my administration is no longer defending DOMA in the courts. I believe the law runs counter to the Constitution, and it's time for it to end once and for all. It should join Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the history books.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
At a certain point, I've just concluded that, for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married. Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well.
Ms. Rivers, how are you? You made a ton of news officiating the wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like a new cottage career move for you?
I am so excited.
Okay.
And I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay. She doesn't.
Secretary Panetta, thank you for your introduction and for your extraordinary leadership. To members of Congress, Vice President Biden, members of the Joint Chiefs, service secretaries, distinguished guests, and men and women of the finest military in the world. And most of all, Admiral Mullen, Deborah, Michael and I also want to acknowledge your son Jack, who's deployed today. All of you have performed extraordinary service to our country.
Hi, Tara.
Oh, hi, Joan.
What's up?
Well, you didn't respond to me, or Anne Hathaway, or Sarah Jessica Parker for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So I thought I'd come here and do it myself.
Okay, fine, whatever. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, now give me Anne Hathaway. Let's just get the whole damn thing over with.
There you
For
go.
Anne Hathaway, fine. Who's next? Who's next?
Sarah Jessica Parker,
Sarah
this is for
Jessica
you.
Parker. Fine. Okay, you all
Yeah,
happy?
Joan.
Everybody happy?
But now on to Joan Rivers. She reportedly went into cardiac arrest this morning and was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital.
And turning now to a health crisis for one of America's most iconic and prolific comedians, Joan Rivers rushed to a Manhattan hospital during a procedure at an outpatient clinic. She is now listed in critical condition.
I'm Shepard Smith at the Fox News deck in New York. The comedic legend Joan Rivers has died. A statement from her daughter was released just a short time ago, in fact, over the last minute, and it reads from her daughter, "It is with great sadness that I announce the death of my mother, Joan Rivers. She passed peacefully at 1:17 p.m., that's Eastern Time, surrounded by family and close friends."
Knocked it off the bucket list right now.
Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, but he shall magnify himself above all.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth.
Oh, okay, as you can see, it's in a large one here. Here you go. Okay, so we've got it. It is written by Justice Kennedy as we expected. I believe that is the case, yes. He is joined by Justice Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. That suggests to us that this is going to be upholding the right to same-sex marriage. This is what it says. The 14th Amendment requires a state to license a marriage between two people of the same sex and to recognize a marriage between two people of the same sex when their marriage was lawfully licensed and performed out of state. There were two questions in this case. The court has run the board in favor of those who do favor same-sex marriage, not only saying there is a constitutional right to same-sex marriage, but saying that if you're married in one state that does recognize it and another one that doesn't currently, it's got to be recognized everywhere. This is the best case scenario for supporters of same-sex marriage. Again, written by Justice Kennedy. It appears that on this case, the Chief Justice did not go with him as he did yesterday, what we saw. The Chief Justice Roberts filed a dissenting opinion in which Scalia and Thomas have joined him. In addition, Scalia filed his own dissenting opinion, which Thomas joined. Thomas also filed his own dissenting opinion, which Scalia joined. Alito filed a dissenting opinion. So we have the block of 5 justices. Kennedy goes with the left wing of the branch. Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan upholding and finding same-sex marriage is a constitutional right. It is going to be across the board in all 50 states. And again, dissenting opinions written by each of the 4 justices who find themselves in the minority. And again, the bottom line, the 14th Amendment does require states to recognize same-sex marriages performed out of state. Same-sex marriage, since same-sex couples may now exercise the fundamental right to marry in every state, this is now all 50 states, there's no lawful basis for any state to refuse to recognize a lawful same-sex marriage performed in another state on the ground of its same-sex character. We know that there are a number of states that only recognize traditional marriage. According to the Supreme Court, that is now over. In all 50 states, same-sex couples can now, as of today in this lengthy opinion, June 26, 2015, gay marriage is now legal across the United States because of this 5-4 opinion.
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. Men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who, knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
An historic ruling by the nation's highest court. President Obama described it as justice arriving like a thunderbolt.
And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven.
Our nation was founded on a bedrock principle, that we are all created equal. The project of each generation is to bridge the meaning of those founding words with the realities of changing times. A never-ending quest to ensure those words ring true for every single American. Progress on this journey often comes in small increments. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step back, propelled by the persistent effort of dedicated citizens. And then sometimes there are days like this, when that slow, steady effort is rewarded with justice that arrives like a thunderbolt.
The 5-4 decision making same-sex marriage legal everywhere, and supporters were dancing in the streets as one dissenting Supreme Court justice warned of a court that is now a threat to American democracy.
In a sweeping 5-4 opinion authored by Justice Anthony Kennedy, the Supreme Court declared same-sex marriage the law of the land, finding a fundamental constitutional right for same-sex couples to marry in all 50 states.
It's my hope that the term gay marriage will soon be a thing of the past, that from this day forward, it will simply be marriage.
Justice Kennedy wrote, quote, under the Constitution, same-sex couples seek in marriage the same legal treatment as opposite-sex couples, and it would disparage their choices and diminish their personhood to deny them this right.
This ruling will strengthen all of our communities by offering to all loving same-sex couples the dignity of marriage across this great land.
All 4 dissenting justices authored their own opinions, including Chief Justice John Roberts. Quote, the majority's decision is an act of will, not legal judgment. The right it announces has no basis in the Constitution or this court's precedent. Adding, just who do we think we are? As a senator, Democrat Hillary Clinton defended the traditional definition of marriage, but today the 26th contender lauded the landmark victory and praised the LGBT community for changing hearts on the issue. The 2016 GOP field roundly denounced the ruling and voiced concerns about protections for those with religious objections to same-sex marriage, despite Justice Kennedy's emphasis on First Amendment protections for, quote, religious organizations and persons. In his dissent, Justice Samuel Alito suggested today's ruling leaves traditional marriage supporters in a tenuous position. Quote, I assume that those who cling to old beliefs will be able to whisper their thoughts in the recesses of their homes. But if they repeat those views in public, they will risk being labeled as bigots and treated as such by governments, employers, and schools.
One of the cornerstones of the Constitution is the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the right of conscience of all Americans. And we're hopeful that that cornerstone, notwithstanding today's decision, remains.
The Archdiocese of Washington issued a statement today saying the court's decision will not change its definition of marriage as between one woman and one man. Yet acknowledged the Catholic Church will soon face a situation in which its teaching and practices, quote, may be perceived to conflict with civil law.
Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Tonight, a remarkable sight at the White House, which is aglow in the colors of the rainbow, celebrating what the administration calls a new chapter in the history of American civil rights. Critics say 5 unelected and unaccountable judges have overstepped their authority by assuming the power to create new fundamental rights and compelling the country to redefine the institution of marriage. Others say this is a seminal moment in the civil rights movement of our time. Well, my next guest says this court decision will, quote, never be accepted. Tony Perkins is the president of the Family Research Council. Tony, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, Megyn, let's look at, for instance, the issue of abortion back in 1973. The court said it was going to take this issue off the table. It wasn't going to be a political issue. 42 years later, it's an issue in every election from president on down. And, I mean, look how divided the court was. They weren't just divided, they were deeply divided. And the dissenting opinions that were written were very strong. In fact, the justices wrote their own so they could express themselves. That's reflective of where the nation is on this, because it's so intertwined with religious freedom. And we've already seen that. You've reported on it. Todd Starnes at Fox News has these stories weekly about how faith is in collision with this agenda that the president has embraced and the court now has endorsed.
What do you make of, the people who, you've heard Professor Turley reference it, that say if you oppose this ruling, if you have questions about it, you must be a bigot. And, the thing that you're up against, Tony, is you look at, for example, the plaintiff in the case today, a dear man who was standing out in front of the Supreme Court today, honoring his partner. And we have the soundbite. Let me play it for you.
Most importantly, I'd like to thank John for loving me, for making me a better man, and for giving me something worth fighting for. I love you. This is for you, John. Thank you.
And folks say, how can you deny him the right to marry the person he loves?
Look, no one denies them the right to live as they please, living with one another. But I would encourage people to go to freetobelieve.com and look at all of the stories of people like Aaron and Melissa Klein, who used to have a bakery, but after $135,000 fines for simply not wanting to be a part of a same-sex wedding, were driven out of business. There is a reason that people have deeply held beliefs. Look, religion is so entwined with who we are as a nation. I mean, that's why we have this nation. It was founded upon that freedom to believe, the freedom to live your life according to your beliefs. That's at stake here. And for Christians, for evangelicals, those who follow the Bible, this is not an issue that can be negotiated away. I mean, Jesus himself in Matthew 19 said, have you not read from the beginning that God created them male and female? For that reason, a man will leave his mother and father, cling to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Jesus spoke specifically to what marriage was.
What do you do with that now? I mean, in the face of the Supreme Court decision, obviously I'm sure you'd like to have it reversed or have it overturned by a later court. But where does the battle go now for a group like yours and people who are defending this view of marriage?
Well, for instance, you were talking with Jonathan about where this may lead. I think you look at the Solicitor General, Donald Verrilli, and what he said in the oral arguments, that this was going to be an issue for religious institutions like colleges and universities and other religious organizations, not initially the churches. I think they'll leave them alone. They'll be the last they go after. But they'll take away the tax exemption, the accreditation. They'll take away grants. There will be an effort to force people to conform. We're seeing it in the corporate world. We'll see it in government. We'll see it in the public square. But I'm just here to say, Megyn, that this is not going to go away. Just as Roe v. Wade did not solve the abortion issue, this is not going to solve the issue of what marriage is. Marriage preceded this court. It preceded this country. It has been around since the very beginning. And it's here to stay. The natural definition of man and woman, of marriage, is a man and a woman, and it's going to remain that way through the end of time.
Tony, good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
All right, Megan.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
Around 1,000 people were dancing to a DJ at a water park when coloured theatrical powder that was being thrown from the stage accidentally ignited. But amateur footage shows that within seconds, crowd members closest to the stage were engulfed in a massive fireball. They ran to get away, but more than 500 suffered from burns, especially to their lower legs.
Everybody was running and pushing each other. We saw a lot of people whose skin had been seriously burned. It was just like hell.
Everybody was screaming and bleeding. There was blood everywhere.
And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
This past Friday,
I know your thoughts on homosexuality. I've listened to a lot of your
what they got to do with the school to prison pipe?
Because it has a whole lot.
She threw homosexuality into the school to prison pipeline. Damn, you good. I don't know how that links
It
up.
has a whole lot, because look at what a lot of these men that's in prison go through with being raped, with being tainted. Some of them go in already knowing that, and some of them come out not knowing what it was until they went in. Now, my question to you is, knowing how your feelings on homosexuality is, and knowing what some of these men have gone through, and with you wanting to open a school, for some of these children that are quote unquote homosexual, will they be allowed into the schools that you're gonna open?
First, let me back up, because I don't want anybody.
Don't back up yet. Answer the question first,
am,
then
but
back
ho,
up.
ho, ho.
No.
You said that you know my position on homosexuality.
Yes,
I don't know whether you do or not, but I know your listeners don't. So I'm going to take 10 seconds to clarify it. Dr. Umar Johnson does not support, condone, nor endorse lesbianism, bisexualism, transvestism, all the isms I'm against.
Okay.
However, I can separate the behavior from the human being practicing it. You talking to a therapist. I've done therapy with homosexuals. I don't hate gay people. I love all black people
So does that answer my question?
No, listen. I love all black people regardless of their illness. Yes, I'm against homosexuality, but I'm not against the person who practices it, because all black homosexuality, lesbianism, transvestism, bisexualism comes out of trauma and abuse and dysfunctionality. How can I hate a victim?
Okay. So will they be allowed?
That'll answer your question. Sure, they could come to my school.
Thank you.
Because there ain't no such thing as gay black kids. There's sexually confused black children, and FDMG will reverse the confusion.
Y'all not gonna be gay no more.
No, you're missing me. They not gay to begin with. It's propagated. It's propagated. It's pushed on them. I'm school-based. You're talking to a principal and a psychologist.
Wait. How do you feel it's school-based?
Oh, so you're not aware that most, especially in New York City, okay, and Los Angeles and other places, homosexuality has been infused into the social studies curriculum in nearly every state department of education. Every child gets some exposure to homosexual belief and thought.
As of now, yes. As of now.
Yes.
As of now,
it's a part of the culture.
Now, yes.
Yes, it's in hip-hop, it's TV, it's radio. Children today, unlike when I was growing up, they are exposed to it. It is propagated.
Go back to hip-hop. Tell me, how is it hip-hop?
Well, you got gay rappers.
Okay.
You got rappers dressing up like women. Most major rappers have endorsed or approved of LBGTism even if they don't participate.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they all really believe it, but they understand that that is the new social movement, and to go against it can cost you your career.
Correct.
You understand? So listen, when I was going to school, you didn't get gay lessons. When I was going to school, there was no gay student organization. When I was going to school, you didn't have teachers running around talking about they was openly gay. Okay, you didn't have a president, Obama, running around giving gay people more rights in 4 years than black people got in 400.
But you
it is the number one social movement in America,
but you
and
act
it is
like you're
more
upset
important
that he
than
did
black
that.
people.
You act like you're upset he did that.
Damn right I'm upset.
Why?
Gay people didn't build America. Black people built America.
Okay, black people built America.
That's right. Being gay and being black is not the same thing. I'm born this. I don't behave this. I be this. Homosexuality is a behavior. Being black is a state of being. Don't confuse who I am with what you do.
No one's confusing anything. But what I'm saying is this. They're still human like you.
They can be human.
Well, let's take away all gender roles.
He didn't give them human rights. He gave them gay rights. He didn't give them human rights.
But they're still human. It's still a right.
He didn't give them human rights. Do you know what Obama did? He put the homosexual agenda above the black agenda. Being gay is more important than Michael Brown being murdered. Being gay is more important than Trayvon being murdered. Being gay is more important than your son getting a decent edge. Oh, yes, it is.
No, because
yes,
guess what?
Homosexuality is the #1 social movement under white supremacy.
It is the #1 social movement.
Yes.
But what happened when you had those homosexuals and those transvestites that were getting killed that were black? Were their lives no better than Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin's? They're still the same. No,
I'm missing something.
I'm
they
not
wasn't
missing
killed
anything.
for being gay. They was killed for being black. Do you realize that white homosexuals
they were killed for their sexuality. They were killed for their sexuality. Let's not confuse the two. Let's not confuse the two.
No, you're confusing.
I'm not confusing it.
Race and sex is different.
No, race and sex is different.
Okay.
But
So
guess
you're
what?
gonna
They
point
were
out-
still black.
You're gonna
They
point
were
out-
still black.
You're going to point. They wasn't killed for being gay. They was killed for being black. You're going to point out a couple. Listen to you now.
Listen to me. No, listen to
the
you.
ridiculousness. Listen to
How is that ridiculous?
Listen, I'm about to give it to you. Black people, there's a black person shot by a police every 7 minutes in the United States of America. But instead of dealing with a systematic nationwide movement to kill off black boys, you want to redirect my attention to a couple of gay black folks who may have been shot for being gay, when we got a systematic movement that is ridding the world of black folks.
It was a systematic movement when it came to the LGBT
You are not
community.
going to make the homosexual movement as important as black life.
I'm not
You're
saying
not gonna
I'm
do
not
that.
saying
You're
I'm
not
making it
gonna
more
do that.
important. What I'm
You're
saying
not
is
gonna-
black
you're not
lives
gonna
matter,
equate
all
it.
lives matter, right or wrong.
No.
Why?
Listen.
Why?
If you want to fight for other people, you fight for other people. I'm not crying no tears except for black people. No tears except for.
Okay, I'm gonna shed a tear.
I ain't crying for Latinos.
I'm gonna
I ain't
shed a-
crying for Arabs. I ain't crying for Jews. It is my people who hurting. Don't get me to go fight some gay fight.
Guess
your
what?
people in trouble and you want to fight the gay
But your
fight.
people,
Come
some
on.
of your people, some of your African people
They
are
suffer
gay.
for being black first.
They suffer
Being
from being
black
black,
is
but
first.
okay, they're still black.
I'm not going to condone.
They're still black.
I'm not going to condone.
They're still black.
But you are missing the point.
I'm
that
not missing the
biggest
point.
issue that we face is racism, not discrimination based on sexuality. That is not the priority. Staying alive is the priority for black people, not being gay.
But guess what? Regardless if they're gay or they're straight, they're still losing their lives as black people. So why is it?
I just said that. Black people are under attack, but you want to piece out the gay thing.
I'm not
and give
piecing
it a
out the gay
priority.
thing. I'm trying to
No priority.
I'm trying to
I'm
say
not
to you
giving
that
it no
regardless
priority.
of the fact of
The
not,
homosexual movement, my sister, was put in front of the black agenda in 1969 with the gay riots, right after Dr. King's assassination, on purpose to take the black agenda off the table and replace it with something else.
I don't think
that
the
was
black
less-
agenda came
hold on,
off. I
that
don't
was
think the
less
black
threatening
agenda came
and that
off.
would
I don't
not
think the
threaten
black agenda
white
came off.
supremacy.
I don't think the black
Ain't nobody
agenda
talk-
came off.
Oh, really?
No.
Who pushing a black agenda then? Who pushing a black agenda? Because everybody I know pushing homosexuality.
No.
Obama didn't push it. Hillary
What
ain't pushing
everybody
it.
is doing
They
now
pushing
is
gay
they're free
rights.
to be
I'm
open
telling
and
you,
be
and
who
I'ma
they
tell all
are.
your listeners, ain't no homosexual thing more important than black people. Quote it, put it on the shirt, damn it. Nobody come before my people. I don't want to talk about
But
no
guess
gay
what?
shit.
Some of your
Black
people is still
what?
gay.
So what? That don't make that issue more important than the fact that black people suffer from white supremacy. Our biggest issue ain't being gay. Our biggest issue is being black.
Regardless of the fact, I think you're missing the point. Honestly.
Is there another question?
Nope, we're gonna stay on this question because it's okay for me to hear your point, but you just don't want to hear my point.
And I think it's ridiculous.
And I
that
think
you
your
would
way of
dare
I think
to
your way of thinking for that is ridiculous.
Compare the gay agenda with the black agenda.
It's not an agenda. It's not an agenda.
It is an agenda.
It is not an agenda.
It is an agenda.
Okay, so if it's not
you must know nothing on the history of the gay struggle. You must
Seriously?
know nothing on the political history of the gay struggle for you
Sometimes-
to sit here and say
Guess
it's
what?
not an agenda.
Guess what? Everything is not politically farce as you might want to make it seem.
For real? So the gay thing.
I think you're exaggerating that.
So I could give you facts on mine.
I could give you facts on mine, but you won't
The
give
United States
me a
government is
word
funding
in.
the gay agenda. The United States
Explain
government.
that.
Explain it.
Yeah.
Money goes from the government towards gay issues.
Which faction of the government?
The federal government gives money to homosexual organizations to advocate their rights.
Okay.
Do your research.
It does not affect about doing my research. It's the fact that the same way the LGBT community came in is the same way the African community
So
came
let me
in.
get this right.
No.
We have
Guess
a
what?
situation
I can let
where
you
black
speak.
males are
If
being
we're going to have an open
over-incarcerated.
dialogue, let's
We
have
got
an
a
open
situation
dialogue.
where black women have one of the highest infant mortality rates in the world. We got a situation where black teenagers are the first fired and the last hired in a country where a merchant would rather hire a child who doesn't even speak English than hire a black child because of racism and stereotypes. And with all the hell we got going on in black America, we're going to spend a greater part of the rest of your broadcast talking about gay issues when black folks are catching hell.
I just made
You,
the
my
point.
dear, has made homosexuality more important than black people.
No,
by
it's the
virtue
one
of
thing,
your
you know
behavior.
what Dr. Umar, let's be fair about this. When you don't want to talk about something, I notice
We
like
can
how you
talk
try
about it, but
we
there's
could
a lot
talk
of
about it. There's a
issues.
lot of issues, but this
you're
was
giving
one of my
homosexuality-
questions.
I done already told you I don't support it, and it's not more important than being black. I don't know what more you want me to say. I told you the gay kids could come to my school because they not gay anyway. They just being brainwashed by a social movement that wants to replace black agenda with gay agenda.
Okay,
as
so
a
let me ask you a
strategy
question.
of
If that's your strategy, if that's your strategy, what have you done present day to help alleviate this?
Alleviate what?
Alleviate this disorder you claim they have.
Alleviate homosexuality.
Correct.
Do you know you go to jail for even talking about that you're going to do some therapy that will reverse some sort of homosexuality?
But you just said that in your school, that's what you're going to do.
I don't have to give them. No, in my school, they will be exposed to what being a black man is and being exposed to what being a black woman is, and they will love it so much that the homosexual confusion that public school and TV and media put in them will automatically go by the wayside.
Okay, so
I don't
let
have
me-
to do nothing special but expose them to the truth.
Okay. Well,
Do
expose.
you know what the word truth means?
Expose
It means
this.
goodness of faith.
Expose this truth to me. How do you feel about the Africa Bambaataa situation that just emerged?
How do I feel? Well, first I would say that anybody is innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
I don't know whether he did it or didn't do it, so I can't talk on that. But I will talk on pedophilia. It's a big ass issue in the black community, swept under the rug, covered up by black churches and black parents every day, because most victims of pedophilia unlike that situation, are members of the family. They are blood relatives 9 times out of 10. And the black community is not ready to deal with pedophilia because it's going to mean exposing people who we love in our families. It is a big problem, as big as the Catholic Church or bigger.
So as a clinical psychologist, how do you diagnose this? Why is it such a big stigma and such a big secret in all of the families in the African
community? It ain't a secret to me. I deal with it all the time. What do you mean? Ain't no secret for me.
Well,
There's no topic I don't do.
It's not a secret for you, but what I'm saying is you just said that it's a big secret in the black community.
It is.
So what is your diagnosis on that as to why it is that way? Why is it such a big secret? Why is it?
People don't want to be exposed. It's such an evil that people would rather sweep it under the rug. It's just like sexual molestation of our girls. 1 out of every 4 black girls get sexually molested in their life. Nothing being done about that either, because parents don't want to admit the guilt and the pain of knowing that they made their child vulnerable to these types of attempts by other folks. How are you going to treat something that people don't want to admit exists? People got to come forward first.
But you said you deal with it all the time.
Yes, I work with children. So yes, I deal with the pedophilia situations. And when they come up, people go to hell to jail. I'm obligated by my degrees, by my credentials. I got to call the police. I got to call Child Protective Service. That's what I do. But I can't go into somebody's house and say we're going to deal with your pedophilia when they don't even want to admit that it exists. If he did it, it's wrong. It don't matter who he is. If he did it, it's wrong. He got to be dealt with. That kind of shit is wrong. Now, of course, in his case, the people involved are adults now. There's statute of limitations legally. I don't know if a person guilty of pedophilia with such a long passing of time can still be held accountable for.
No, that's the whole reason why the gentleman came out, because what he wants to do essentially is to get the statute of limitations never ending. Mm-hmm. So because he was only comfortable now in his adult years and after everything that he's gone through as to why he finally came out, he said he wanted to face his demons finally.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's the whole purpose.
And I also understand where he's coming from. Having done therapy with other folks who've been afflicted with that type of abuse, it takes a while to garner up the courage, the strength, the psychological resources to come forward. So unlike many people who've commented on the case, I see it as a normal schedule of activity and routine for a sexual assault victim to come out later in life. Most women never report their rapes. Most girls never report their molestations. Most child sex victims, especially homosexual pedophilia victims, they never come out. You'll never hear from them because it's too painful to live with it. You see? Right. So I understand him coming out late. That doesn't cast any shadow of doubt on me, but yet and still, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Okay. Now let's get to the final stage, 6. We can finally get to 6.
Well, there was psychological frustration, which we didn't get to, which means that after the boy comes out of juvenile incarceration, after he's been put on drugs, he's been in special ed and this and that, he understands that the system is not for him. Mm-hmm. He also understands that his community, where the fight homosexuality and fight him getting a decent education. That leads to premature extermination. He's angry. He's mad. He wants to get revenge on somebody for what has happened to him. And you know what happens? He runs into another black male on the street one day. One of them look at one the wrong way, step on his shoes, give him a bad look at his girlfriend, say something disrespectful. It's all out of anger and pain. That's what we don't understand about black on black crime. Black on black crime is about pain and the hurt that is not being addressed. So then people say, well, why don't they just go get some therapy from who? The same white folks who created their problems? Are you crazy? Black people ain't gonna never go to white folks for treatment because they know white folks are the ones responsible for their problem. You got to care about me to help me. You got to care about me to teach me. So if you want to know why black kids are not being taught, and if you want to know why black people don't go to therapy, you got to look at white supremacy. You don't go to get help from people who you know don't care about you.
All right, let's get into